They didn't play by the rules and still made it to the top. This is where the real stories live, raw, bold, and unapologetic. These are real women, real stories, unfiltered success. Welcome to Next to None. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Next to None. We're real women, real stories, and unfiltered success. Boy, I have a powerhouse woman for you today. Kelli, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us about yourself and what you do?
Hi, Amy. Thanks so much for having me on today. I'm Kelli Risse, and I am a peak performance business coach and a keynote leadership speaker. And I help business owners and leaders really avoid burnout, accelerate their performance, and lead with clarity. And I have several certifications ranging from communication, neuroscience, and emotional intelligence that I bring into everything that I do to just help them really lead themselves. I want women to lead themselves. And, one of the big things that I do is I often shift high achievers into peak performers. And so that is something that I'm known for. And it really, when we think about the shift to that, and I can explain that if that would be helpful, what that looks like. But I do that through my coaching. I do that through a one-day breakthrough that I have that is all about changing the neuroscience and the synapses that our brain creates these outdated programs. And from there, then it's just about integrating the transformation into the daily habits because we're so stuck in habits that we've done for so long. And when we really reprogram our brain, we can do new habits and we can really live, lead, and work in a new way.
I love that. Just so y'all know, Kelli and I are friends, and we do networking and stuff together. And she really is an incredible individual. And I'm very thankful for getting to know more of Kelli and learning more about her. And she's awesome. She's just awesome. So, well, Kelli, tell us about yourself personally.
Yeah. So personally, I'm a wife. I'm a mom of two wonderful boys. I'm a former dancer, so I love to dance. I have a master's degree in dance and a bachelor's degree in music theater, which is one of the reasons why I love to speak because it's kind of my outlet for that. But personally, also a former educator. So I was in the world of education for 15 years. And it was through that world that I decided that if I could get in and help parents, specifically moms, that it would trickle down into the kids that I was teaching. Because during conference time, I saw a lot of stressed out moms coming in trying to juggle everything, right, Amy, like you and I do.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, maybe I need to shift my focus to actually helping the adults, and then that will just help the kids. So that is when I shifted into being a business owner. And, part of my story is why I decided to also become a business owner is that as an educator, I was working as a high achiever. And working as a high achiever led me right into the hospital with supraventricular tachycardia. And, it was when the paramedics showed up at my house and had to restart my heart to get it to beat at a normal rhythm again, that I was like, I can't keep living this way anymore. And so it was kind of through that I really started my own personal journey of I'm very much an all or nothing. And I was doing, if you looked at my life, I was doing all the things, right? I also do all the things to the extreme. And so that, it's kind of going back and finding that, I call it the pendulum swing of the all or nothing, and coming back in and getting myself into a little bit more balance, kind of in the middle. And so that's when I started doing research. That's when I went back and got multiple coaching certifications, actually, and it kind of led me into the journey of where I am now, helping business owners and leaders who also carry that immense amount of stress.
Yeah, I love that. I love one thing in particular that you talked about. First of all, I love your journey, and I'm going to highly recommend her book. Kelli has a book, and I really recommend you get it because It's got some really great stuff in there. And Kelli also shares a lot of her personal story when she speaks, when she's doing work with clients. And but something that you said is something that is super important to me as well. And you and I think we've talked about this before a little bit, but I want to talk about it a little bit here.
Hmm.
You said you got several coaching certifications, and like we both know the coaching industry right now is super saturated.
Hmm.
Um, and not everyone gets educated in how coaching actually works and what the best way to go about some of that. And I'm not diminishing anyone that might have some talent or gifts in doing those things, but I believe it's really important. And I would love for you to share why you felt like that was so important to become certified in those things and how you help your clients.
Yeah. So for me, as I said earlier, I have a bachelor's degree, I have a master's degree. Like education is important to me. And so I wanted to make sure that I had the tools to help the people that I was going to help. And so that became very important. And so I became a certified health coach and a life coach, which took months. Then I went and got a master's certification as an advanced transformational coach. And that was a year-long program. And then
Mm,
I became certified in neurolinguistics programming. And that was another year-long certification that was like, shoot, I don't even know the hours. I wish I knew the hours, the amount of hours that I put into this, but
a lot.
it was a lot. It was a lot. Then I became certified as an emotional intelligence um, consultant, as well as the 8 factors of engagement for companies that are, looking to strengthen their culture. And it is important for me because I want to have the knowledge. I want to make sure that I am helping the people that I work with in the best way. And so I feel like it allows me to have so many tools in my toolbox that I feel very confident that I can help people kind of no matter how they come to me. You know,
Yeah, I love
that's
that.
it.
Kelli is a high achieving individual in general. She's very driven. And if you can't tell, she is go, go, go. Let's drive. Let's drive.
Yeah. Yeah,
But I think that's great. But I think she also has learned balance.
I have.
Um, and I would love for you to share with our listeners, because there's probably women a lot like you. I mean, like I'm similar to that. I had to learn in a different way how to slow down and be more present.
Mhm.
But if you would share some of that journey, I know you shared a little bit about,
Yeah.
having to have your heart restarted.
Yeah. Yeah. So, part of I would say the biggest part of my journey was through my NLP, my neuro linguistics programming training. So, for me, the biggest part was that 1 day breakthrough. Because
Mm,
let's face it, the reason we are striving, the reason we are, feel like we have to be pushing through everything. And, I used to think that like relaxing was lazy. My husband would want to go sit in the woods, and I was like, oh my God, why would we do that? Like, we will accomplish nothing. Like, we're just going to sit there. Like, that sounds awful to me,
that's awesome.
which I can now do. But, this 1 day breakthrough for me, I had to go in and get to the root of truly what was driving that for me.
Mm,
And, as a kid, I grew up in the dance world. And growing up in the dance world is all about competitive. It's all about being number one. And if you're not number one, well, you're not good enough because you were number two, three, four, whatever. And
yeah.
so that inherent, like, I'm not good enough unless I do all of these things. And this is how I'm going to prove my worth to the world. And I had to really get in there and face that. And I had to shift it. And so once I did that for me, now I can relax and now I have more balance and now I can truly work as more of a peak performer instead of a high achiever. And high achievers burn out. And that's exactly what I that's exactly what I did in the world of education. And
Yeah.
so I'm very conscious. And when I talked about that pendulum shift, it's never that I start going to like all or nothing, but I recognize it and I can go back to balance faster, right? Than I was before. Because before it would take a major like
Yeah.
like all of a sudden I'm sick, right? Because we pushed through that. And I'm like, just down and out for 3 days. And I'm like, oh, maybe I should have stopped and taken care of myself along the way. Like, so I've learned to do that better so I can
Yeah.
keep it closer.
I have found since I started my own business that my balance has kind of been restored. Like, what do you say to the woman that is working? Because, like, for myself, I was working for a company, an organization, right?
Mhm.
And I was working 6 days a week, Tuesday through Sunday. And, for me, there was no balance. It was all in, all in, all in, all in. And the organization that I worked for was all about people and it helped people. But I was so busy helping people that I
You
stopped
weren't
helping
helping yourself.
myself. I stopped
Hmm.
helping my family. And it's interesting because I think all of women, and I think women in general probably struggle with this the most because we don't just have our careers, we also have our home life, if you're,
Hmm.
and all
Yeah.
those different things. And the balance of that is so difficult. So what is the one piece of advice that you would give to that woman that's listening today that would say, I need to learn how to balance, but I just don't know where to start?
Hmm. Yeah. So I think we have to look at ourselves like the power strip. And how many things do
Mm.
we have plugged in to the power strip? Because there's only 6 outlets in the power strip,
But
right? So
you get the extra power strip that
to
plugs in,
put
and then
on
you
the power
just,
strip, right? Right. So, and if your family is one of them, if work is one of them, how many other things? And typically for women, we seem to be more of people pleasers. And, that's kind of just inherent for us. And so we have to figure out, like, what are we doing where we are pleasing other people, but truly lacking, like it's making us create this
yeah.
deficit in ourselves and not taking care of ourselves. And so I think one of the biggest things that I do is I really help women look at their energy
Mm.
and because we all have the same amount of time. We don't all have the same amount of energy.
Yeah.
And if you are not giving any of your energy to yourself, that's where we end up burnt out, resentful, moody,
Yeah.
mad at everybody. And so really it's looking at your energy, and are you putting your energy to the things that are truly important to you that you are prioritizing? And yourself has to be one of those, because in order to lead others, whether that's your family, whether that's, you're a business owner and you're leading others, whether you're a leader and you're leading others, you have to lead yourself first. It is about self leadership.
Will you explain a little bit what you mean by energy?
Hmm.
Because
So,
there's a lot of different word. Energy is kind of a little bit of a buzzword right now, and it can mean very many different things.
hmm so to me, energy is when you have the most clarity, when you are the most efficient, when you are making the best decisions. And energy and emotional intelligence are very closely related, as are stress and emotional intelligence. And so for me, an easy way to look at this, or an easy start to it, I'll say, is that, we all have to do things that's going to drain our energy, right?
Hmm.
In your home life, maybe you don't like to
Yes.
clean. It's going to drain your energy. I don't like to cook. You know what I mean? Like, what do you not like to
Yeah.
do? Um, when my kids were little and we had 9,000 more loads of laundry than we do now, whoa, just a drain. But following that, which can suck your energy, what then are you doing to rebuild your energy? Because we also all have ways and things that truly rebuild our energy. And it can be as simple as standing up and twisting your body from side to side, raising your hands over your head and taking a big deep breath.
Yeah.
Right? It can be as simple as putting on some music. It can be, I'm going to, do a lap outside, just a little quick walk. You know what I mean? Sometimes literally walking, if you work at home, walking out of your front door and standing on your porch, it's just a different perspective, and it gives you a
Yeah.
minute away. And then you can go back and you feel energized. The easiest way is always breathing, because we breathe from our shoulders instead of breathing from our bellies. And
Hmm.
when we're breathing from our shoulders, it keeps us in the sympathetic state instead of the parasympathetic state. And we want to get out of that fight or flight. And so to me, the easy thing is thinking about, what are you doing that's draining you? And then are you following it up with a short activity, a task that gives you energy.
Yeah, I love that because sometimes women, when they come home, they're still in that same frazzled state of when they're working, whether they own their own business or whether they're working for someone
Yes.
else. They
Hmm.
stay in that same state. I found myself doing that. My energy giver backer, whatever you want to
Hmm.
call it. There's a couple different things. Like I do pause a lot,
Hmm.
and I teach my clients like, hey, sometimes you just have to pause.
Yep.
You have to
Yep.
stop. And I do the whole breathing thing. For me, sometimes I just pray and I'm like, man, I just need some direction, Lord. Just help
Yeah.
me, redirect me so that I know what you're wanting for me. And my brain isn't like in complete chaos
Hmm.
right now,
Hmm.
but
Yep.
I do find that the whole breathing thing has been so good. I started seeing a new chiropractor in the beginning of October. And as he's adjusting me and fixing some things in my spine and those types of things, one of the things he keeps saying is, hey, like if you feel yourself getting tense, just take a deep breath. And
Hmm.
I have been doing that, and it's amazing how quickly you relax when you
Yes.
actually, and then
Yeah.
just
And
like
yes.
let your limbs fall to the side and just,
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
crazy.
I teach the 5-5-7 breath so that you inhale for 5 and you hold for 5 and then you exhale for 7, which if you're counting, it kind of, gives you a little bit of purpose. And then you can watch your breath just slow down.
Hmm.
Because the first couple times you do it, you're like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then, and after you do it, then you can be like, 1, 2, and you can automate, like just doing that and counting, you can see your breath
Yeah.
slow down and regulate better.
I,
Another, go ahead.
and I was going to say one thing for me, I'm a vocalist. So when I breathe in, my diaphragm really, I mean, I can really get a lot of air in there. And so it's just like, I can't count because sometimes it's
Yes.
so I
Yeah.
just do it so I don't think about it. But
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
it's man, it's just, and even in like when I'm singing, I use that. Like if I feel
Hmm.
myself starting to get a little tightened or whatever, I just take a deep breath in that moment so that I fill my diaphragm. So I'm like getting it when I get it out, it just relaxes my body.
Yeah. I think another way that we can really protect our energy also is to increase our communication strategies, because a lack of communication, a lack of clarity, that can truly mess with our emotions, which
Oh,
then,
absolutely.
emotions will, if we don't have emotional regulation, and that's going to drain us also. But I think that communication piece can also, especially for women, right? Like we need to make sure that we are showing up with presence, that we
Yeah.
have influence, that we have visibility. And so I think really, just learning how to communicate effectively, not apologizing for things, that will increase energy as well.
Yeah. You're so right. I mean, honestly, in my former career, I would find myself, part of it was I was in a very male dominated industry.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I found myself saying, okay, I want to make sure that you understand this. And I'd have to really like soften it up a lot, which was really it took a lot of energy out of me because versus going in there and saying, hey, this is what I found. Here's the things, all the like, here it is. And
Mhm.
I think women, especially when they get to that executive level where there's a lot of strong male energy. And I'm
Yes.
not,
Yes.
I'm not criticizing men in any of this because I'm not that person that's going to be, oh, men suck. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's different. It's a different energy. And I don't want to be that. I don't want to have that masculine energy, but I also want to be able to be. So I call myself, I'm not afraid to challenge things,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I'll ask
Mhm.
questions to that, but that's not always accepted, especially in male dominated industries.
Mhm.
And I think that that's where a lot of my energy got lost because I felt like I
Mhm.
was fighting battles all the time.
Yes. Yeah, I can see that. And I think that is definitely one of the challenges that women deal with today, is that exact challenge of how do I show up strong and have my voice heard in a
Yeah.
way that is effective and respected.
It goes back to the communication thing you're talking about. I
Mhm.
had to learn, and I did learn to ask different types of questions, how they were
Yes.
asked, the timing of which they were asked,
Hmm.
all these different things. And that drained me because it was so much extra, but it was effective.
Yeah. And the opposite of that is when there's a lack of communication and you're not asking questions and you don't know the answers. And so then you're just making up what you think the outcome is going to be, right? And usually we don't make up the great outcome, Amy. We
Right.
make up the awful outcome, right? And that is totally energy draining as well, because
Yeah.
we are worried about asking the question. You know what I mean? So then we just let the silence,
Yes.
the lack of communication go. And that is an energy drainer as well.
It's interesting, and you probably see the same thing. We do very similar work,
Hmm.
but like just the lack of clarity in communication in businesses and organizations is probably the biggest struggle that I mean, almost everyone that I go into and work with, those two things are the issue.
Yes. And as you know, because we both are trained in this, when you know other people's communication styles, their behavior styles,
Yes.
then and you are aware of that to know how you can respond effectively to them, it makes a world of difference. It truly does.
It does, and you don't have to have your work, like, just for women that are listening, you don't have to have your work do a training or do
Mhm.
something like that. Start investigating those things on your own. Find out about yourself
Yeah.
and then find out about how you can communicate effectively through others. I mean, I use it with my husband all the time. Our
Mhm.
relationship is great because I totally understand his personality style and how he needs to be communicated to, and it has been a game changer in our marriage.
Yes, yes, yes. And, in addition to that, I think the other thing that we as women can do ourselves a huge benefit of is going in and doing the work, whoever you're doing the work with, a coach, a therapist. My clients, we do the 1 day breakthrough, whatever that is for you, of going in and clearing up any trauma. And
Mhm.
Amy, we all know there's big T trauma and there's little T trauma,
Yeah.
and how that affects, because when you are communicating from, again, an outdated source that thinks you need to communicate like this because of whatever happened in your life
Yeah.
growing and I had an amazing childhood. I had an amazing childhood. I didn't realize until I got older, like how much the dance community, just the expectations of dancers, like how much that
Yeah.
affected. Right. So again, I didn't know that. But then when I was able to go in and look at it from that perspective of how much easier it was then for me to be able to be the strong, confident woman that I am, because
Yeah.
I let go of all that past baloney.
Yeah. You know, I had a very complex childhood and there was a lot of complex trauma. Recently, my counselor, I just started seeing a new counselor and just to process through things. And by the way,
Yep.
there's no shame in going to see a counselor. I
No.
think that they do
Mhm.
you get the right one, they do a phenomenal job with helping you process.
Yes.
And it's a safe place, so they can't tell anybody what you're talking about. But she was asking me about my childhood. And so I started telling all these things. And she was like, after the first hour, she goes, whoa, that is what we call complex PTSD. But I'm not sure that, she's like, I don't understand how you're even like operating the way that you are, knowing all of the stuff that happened. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, part of that's my faith,
Yes. Yes.
where I'm grounded at in that. And I
Yes.
said, some of it is just that there's pieces of it I believe that we heal in different pieces. Like I kind of look at it
Mhm.
as, and maybe you understand this, and this might be something that you do in your 1 day training or
Mhm.
1 day
Mhm. Breakthrough.
intensive, whatever, breakthrough.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like we all grieve and we grieve things, and a lot of people only equate grieving with death. And there's grieving that happens in all of us.
Yes.
And if we're not allowing ourselves to grieve relationships or
Mhm.
our expectations that we're
Yep.
never being able to met.
Yeah.
For me, I became a very high achiever because I wanted to prove myself to
Mhm.
everyone.
Mhm.
And and then I really didn't have the right motives and all of that.
Mhm.
And then,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like, so there's so much of that grieving piece that women in particular don't allow themselves to grieve through.
Yeah.
Like if I sat here and told you my story, you would be like, holy crap, Amy,
Mhm. Mhm.
heck.
Yeah. Yeah.
and all of us have stories. And there's people that have things way worse than what I experienced, and all these different things. But like, I just think that that plays such a huge part into how we communicate,
Mhm.
how we allow clarity to be in our lives,
Yeah.
and some of the things that we're talking about. So I don't know. I don't know if you want
Yeah.
to hit on that at all, because I know that kind of goes into
Well,
some of the NLP stuff too.
it does go into some of the NLP stuff. And one of the things that I love just about the breakthrough is that, and I have also seen a therapist before. And so, knowing both things, one, every client that I've worked with has been like, that was like 5 years of therapy in one day. And I'm like, it is. And the other thing that it does is it really makes it look at the light inside of you and all the positive things inside of you instead
Hmm.
of just reliving the trauma, right? You know what I mean? It is really about you and only the positive things about you. And
Yeah.
that right there is extremely powerful.
Yeah.
Somebody else had done something in anyway through a different modality or whatever, and so she found out something that was like really traumatic for her, except I don't think the other side of that was ever presented. So then it's like she's like, well, I'm an awful person because this happened. But I'm like, well, no, where's the good? You know what I mean? Like, I want to make sure that the positive comes out of it, not just
Yeah.
sitting in the negative of it type thing. So I don't know. That's why I love what I do and am very passionate about it. Because in one day, in 8 to 10 hours, you can truly change and rewire and update your program. And I think that's just like, wow, isn't that cool? You know what I mean? That we have the
That is
ability
really
to
cool.
do
Yeah.
that. It's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And, a lot of women sometimes feel like there's shame in having to do those types of things.
Oh,
What do you say to that woman?
yeah. Well, as Brene Brown says, when you bring things to light, the shame can go away. And I just don't think we can have shame about it, because if we stopped and we all shared our stories, right? Like our real stories, we'd all be like, well, we're all in the, like, here we are. Well, everybody's
Yeah.
is different. You know what I mean? But we're all in this. And, I can honestly say after years of doing this, nothing surprises me. And like people aren't coming in with like, they'll come in, you won't believe this. I'm like, I've probably
Yes.
seen something similar before, right? And the fact that it's all confidential is so important as well. But
Hmm.
I think we just have to get past the shame and
Yeah.
do this for ourselves. And Amy, speaking of, there was something that did happen in my past that I was very ashamed of, and this cleared that up. I mean, I used to be able to make myself cry on a dime because I would
Hmm.
think of this and I could just like get upset with myself. I could cry. I could be like, oh, you're a horrible person, whatever. And now I can never change the event. I cannot change it. It happened.
Yeah.
And yet it is a scar now, not a scab, not a wound, not an opening. It is truly a scar, and I have healed, and I can think about it, and I can think about just who I became going through that experience and how it helped me along the way. And I think that's the important thing that we have to remember as women. There are great lessons through everything that we've done that have led us to be the women that we are today.
Yeah. Kind of going into like the emotional intelligence thing, I think this
Yeah.
ties into that, because I think sometimes women do not have empathy for themselves. They don't give themselves grace. And I think that that shows up in self-regulation.
Hmm.
And, if you want to talk about that for a little
Yeah.
bit, I think that
Yeah.
might, or not a little bit, but just
Yeah.
share some thoughts
Yeah.
about that, because I think that is I think that's probably the biggest barrier that women have, and is that uh lack of empathy for themselves.
I agree. And it's funny that you say that, because one of the things that I say often when I'm coaching is grace and compassion, grace and compassion, because you are 100% right. We will give all these other people grace and compassion when they do something, but
Yeah.
we do something and we do not have that same grace and compassion for
Yeah.
ourselves. And it has to start there. It has to start with ourselves. We are so judgmental on ourselves also. And, if you are someone that is judgmental on yourself, you're actually putting that energy out into the world also. So
Yeah.
when we can release some of that judgment, we are all doing the best we can at the given day that we are on in the hour that we are on, right? And so when we can release some of that judgment, when we can release some of that comparison, we all know comparison is the thief of the world, right? So
Sure is.
when we can release some of that, that also increases our grace and compassion that we have for ourselves, and it really can help us regulate our emotions faster,
Yeah.
right? Like getting them back, the pendulum swing, getting them back to
Yeah.
just, I call clear. I have the clear cloudy red, and it can help us get there by bringing in grace. And sometimes it is grace and compassion for other people, right? There are people that we're naturally have grace and compassion for, and then
Yeah.
the ones that we're like, that bring out the red in us. And when we can also have empathy for them, it can help us just move on with our day better,
Yeah.
make better decisions, have more clarity, and really do what we want to do effectively.
You know, I love that. First of all, you said a couple things that made me think of perspective, and the book that I wrote is about all about your perspective. Like, how are you
Mm-hmm.
seeing life? And I
Mm-hmm.
think that sometimes when we can stop, like I was just talking to the counselor about this yesterday. She's like, why do you give people so much, empathy? And I said, because I don't look at what they're doing. I ask myself, why are they doing what they're doing?
Mm-hmm.
Why are they acting a particular way? Why are they? And then, as I am able to ask that question, sometimes you can start to see why those things are happening, right?
Yes.
Why
Yes.
is that person acting that way? Well, that person had, childhood trauma and they've never been able to get over it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a family member that kind of just has a victim mentality, but when I look at their life, I'm like, I get it. I understand why. Doesn't make it okay, but it
Mm-hmm.
gives me an understanding that I can have empathy, but also it allows me to say, okay, because of that, I'm going to distance myself a little bit. I still love them. I still care for them, but I'm going to distance myself a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's all about your perspective, how you see yourself, how you see others, and going back to the empathy, the grace and compassion. Like, you've been through bad things, hard things. Can you
Mm-hmm.
not give compassion to someone else that has also been through things?
Right. Yes, absolutely. 100% agree with that. And, the other thing that came to mind when you were speaking about that is sometimes it's difficult when we ask ourselves why. Okay. It's easier when we think about the other person. Why might they
Yeah.
do it? Doing right. When we ask ourselves why, I mean, we can go down a rabbit hole and I will descend quickly. So,
Yeah.
two things came to mind for me. One, for ourselves asking a different question. And instead of asking, like, why do I do that? Right? Asking the question of what's the purpose? What's
Yeah.
the purpose of me doing this? Because you'll get a different answer when you ask what's the purpose instead of why. And then the other thing that I think, we can all just think about a little bit more is who do I want to be?
Yeah.
Right. And, oftentimes we walk around telling ourselves, I'm a stressed out mess, a hot mess, like whatever. Well, who do you want to be?
Yeah.
And let's start each day with thinking about who I want to be in this situation. Whether you're walking into a boardroom meeting, whether you're working with a client, whether you're just walking in the door to your family, who do you want to be? And when you tell yourself, well, I would like to be grounded, I would like to be present, that's how you'll show up. Like you're telling yourself, this is how, who
Yeah.
I'm going to be right now. And that can make the world of difference. Just a little shift like that of who do I want to be as I move into this next situation.
Yeah. I'm a really firm believer of what you say about yourself is what you become.
Hmm.
And, sometimes people joke with me and they're like, oh, you're just like always positive. And I'm like, yeah, I am.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
want to
Yes.
be.
Yes.
Not that I don't have those moments. Trust me, my family feels it when I don't have those moments,
Hmm. Hmm.
but the reality is that we become who we allow ourselves to become.
Hmm.
And it's not up to anyone else to tell me who I am. It's up to myself to tell myself who I am. And in that, that all goes by the way that I talk about myself, the way that
Hmm.
I talk about others. I
Yep.
mean, the way that I see others, the way that I see myself, all of
Hmm.
those things. And it is a huge game changer when you can see yourself in a way. Like, because I asked someone, this was years ago, actually my mentor, I said, give me 5 words that describe me to you, like what you think. And she named off these things. And I was like, really? Like, and they were wonderful things. And I was like, wow, yeah, I am that. I am that. I
Hmm.
just like
Right.
it kind of gave me that thing of like, I am, and so Kelly, I'm going to ask you, describe yourself in 5 words.
Oh. Okay, here we go. Um, I am confident. I am bold. I am direct. That's three. Usually it's three, Amy. Really
I know,
five?
but I said
I
5.
am I am passionate and I am caring and friendly and respectful. I don't know. I mean,
That's 7. Good
I
job.
do feel like I could go on and on. But that is, being able to say those things about yourself is that, Amy, right there is healing in itself,
Yeah.
right? And, I truly do believe when we can start our day remembering those things and saying those things. And if there's something, a word you want to be, act as if you already are, right? We know that's the big one, act as if. And so
Yeah.
if you want to be more fill in the blank, then act as if you are that,
Yeah.
because that is the way our brain works. You
100%.
know, when we say things, when we put it out there, our brain is looking for that, right? Let's go back to energy, right? So if I would be like,
Yes.
I am going to be more energized today. Okay. If I say that I have energy today, my brain's going to be like, oh, yes, we do. Here's how we have energy, right? Here's how we have
Yeah.
focus, whatever. But if we say, oh, I'm tired, then our brain is constantly proving to us that we are tired. And so then
Yes.
it's looking for the ways to confirm we are tired instead of confirming the way that we are energized and focused and wonderful.
Oh, here's another one that I hear a lot from women. I'm so busy. And
Mm,
I always say, well, who makes your calendar?
yeah. Mm,
Who makes your
yep.
calendar? Do you want to be
Yep.
busy? I mean, it's okay if you want to be busy.
Right. 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 And if you want to be busy, great, that's what you're choosing to be. And so keep doing it. And yet, are you, this is, I feel like this is big for high achievers. High
Yeah.
achievers wear busyness as a badge of honor because it
Yes.
means that they are doing enough to prove their worth. Mm,
Right.
right? Instead of really like, are you doing things that are aligned with you, that are you are prioritizing, that match your values? That's another
Mhm.
thing. I'm going to bring up the breakthrough, because I know the power
Do
of it.
it.
But another thing that we do in the breakthrough is that we align your conscious and unconscious values. Okay. And it's very interesting because when the breakthrough starts, I get their values in the order that they, here's my values. And I do a process to help them, right? But anyway, then we go through the entire breakthrough. We do their values again so they can see the difference. And then when they go back and look at how their values were, then they came in, I'm like, and this is exactly why you weren't getting what you wanted. Because
Yeah.
here's your values before, and here's your values now. And they're like, whoa. I mean,
I
so
love that, Kelly.
yeah.
I absolutely love that. And I want to tell you, so when I left my career,
Uh-huh.
I did this program with a specific type of coach. I can't remember what he called himself. But
Okay.
anyway, he said, what is a word that is negative to you, but you feel like it's really a part of who you are? And I said, challenging. And he goes, okay,
Mm.
why do you feel like that's bad? And I said, because I'm told I shouldn't challenge. You shouldn't challenge. Shouldn't challenge. This is back in my male dominated industry career.
Okay. Okay.
You shouldn't challenge. You shouldn't challenge. And he goes, what is it about challenging that you love? And I said, challenging is not negative to me. I said, it's
Mhm.
me asking questions to see if we're really putting out the best of what we could. And he
Yeah.
goes, exactly. And so through that process, kind of the core values thing came up. And he goes, when you walk into a room, what do you look for? And I was like, well, I look for someone that is, I said, well, let me tell you what I don't look for. And that's how I started it. He goes,
Which is
okay.
always easier. It's always easier to
Yeah,
say what you don't
exactly.
look for.
Right. And I said, well, I look for if there's someone talking to another person and that one person is talking and they're not asking any questions to the other person, they're not engaging that person, they're just talking about themselves. I said, I don't want to have anything to do with that person.
Mm.
And he goes, okay, so what is that? I said, it's arrogant. It's arrogant. And he goes, okay, so what's the opposite of arrogant? And I was like, humility. And he goes, exactly. That is one of your internal things that
Yeah.
is humility is important to you. And I said,
Yeah.
100% it is.
Yes.
So anyway,
Yes.
we went through that question. And then he said, okay, I'm trying to remember what the other one, I don't remember what the other, he asked me another question. It was similar to that one. And I had to really, really think through that because I was like, gosh, I don't know. I'm gonna have to find that paperwork that he gave me after the
Yeah.
fact. It's like this packet. I'll
Yeah.
share it with you. But
That's great.
anyway,
It reminded me of have you heard of the four tendencies?
oh yeah.
And I wish I could remember her name that wrote it. But
Mm,
there's the upholder, there's the one that I always forget, there's the questioner and the rebel.
I'm gonna look it up.
Okay, what is the one that I always forget? But the upholder, they're the ones that literally they decide something and they do it and they uphold themselves. Okay.
Yes.
Then
Okay,
there's
okay.
one that,
The
yeah,
upholder, the obliger, the
obliger.
rebel,
Yes.
and the questioner.
Yes. And so the obliger is someone who does like if they have a coach, they will do it for the coach. Right? Like these are the people that succeed when they go, let's just say, like to Weight Watchers, because someone's weighing them in and they don't want to disappoint
Yeah.
really the person weighing them in. Okay. Whereas an upholder will just be like, I'm going to lose weight and they just do it. Right. I'm going to live a healthy lifestyle. They just do it. Okay. Then there's the questioner. I am a questioner, right? It could also be considered a challenger because you're challenging things, but I question everything. Like everything. I just have questions for. Like I either want to know more, I want to know why, I want like there's just all these things and I am the questioner,
Yeah.
which can sometimes come off like
Yeah.
why are you I'm just curious like and I'm curious to look at it from a different angle more from the whatever and then the last one just to get all four of them is the rebel and
Yeah.
the rebel literally does nothing. I mean, they are a rebel. If the sign says do not entering, they're entering. If you tell them to stop, they're going to do it. Like they are just a true rebel.
Yeah.
So, and we can all have like a couple, we can just like the disc, right? You can have
Yeah.
like one or two that you're of your communication styles, your behavior styles. But questioner, that's me.
Me too. And that is exactly so I had a leader early on in my career say, I'm always going to tell you the why behind the what. And I was like, yes, I love that because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to question things if I understood why we were
Yeah,
doing something. And if
right.
we were doing something that I didn't quite understand after I got the why, I would ask more questions.
Yes.
But I ended up in the latter, probably last 7 to 10 years of my career, I ended
Mm-hmm.
up with a leader that did not like I literally was told, you cannot ask why. You have to phrase it into a different
Mm-hmm.
way to ask. And I was just like, and in my mind, I'm like, you have some type of internal trauma
Yeah. Yes.
that,
Yes.
and I unfortunately got the brunt end of that, but I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
ask why. So I had to
Mm-hmm.
come up with different ways. So how did you come to that? Like just like, and it was just like, gosh, that's so annoying when I can just ask why.
So
Can
yeah.
you help me
Yeah.
understand why we're doing that?
You know what I love right now in the days of AI, be like, put that question and be like, what are 10
Right?
ways I can because as you went back to the whole energy thing, right? You're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is draining my energy because I got to come up with three different ways I can ask this.
Mhm.
Well, now we could use AI to come up with those three ways, Amy. I'm just saying.
Yes. Girl, I use AI for
Yeah.
everything. I
Yeah.
had it looked for flights for me the other day.
Yes.
So,
Efficiency.
yes. But I
But I
love
do
that
want
you're,
to, I want to
go
go
on.
back and I want to just
Yes.
encourage women to think about those four tendencies, the upholder, obliger, the questioner, and the rebel. And look
Yes.
at your children and your spouse
Oh,
in those four categories because it
let me
will
see
open
here. I
up.
can tell you right now. Oh, one of my sons is the rebel for sure.
Yep.
No matter, yeah, just,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's a yeah, obliger, definitely have one of those, one of my other children. I'm trying to think of what my husband is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely the questioner. They
Mm-hmm.
get tired of my questions.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I think my husband's also an obliger. I don't know. Yeah, I think he is.
Yeah. But it's interesting, right? It's just it's another, I love all the different tool. I love the disc, right? I have a
I love all the
motivators.
tools.
Yeah, I have a motivators assessment that I do with people so they know their motivators. As do you, right? You have these
Yeah,
tools as well. And sometimes they bring new light to us and they're like,
yeah,
oh, and sometimes it just confirms what we already
yes,
know, but it puts it in a way that it just helps us understand it a little bit more, right? Like, we've
yeah.
always known that we've done this, but now it's like, oh, it makes sense. It just kind of helps make sense of things.
It also helps us individually grow in our emotional intelligence. When you can come
Yes.
to understand yourself better, your
Yes.
emotional intelligence increases. And,
Mhm.
a lot of people get the assessments or they do a personality and they read it
Mhm.
and they're like, oh, okay, but they really don't understand the beauty in understanding what they're reading. I was talking to a client a couple weeks ago and he goes, oh, I've already done that. And I said, oh, okay. I said, did you have someone go over it with you? Well, no.
No,
I said,
right, right.
let's do that. Like you're probably missing things that you don't even
Yes.
realize. Like I used my husband as a dummy when I first got certified and I pulled every single report that I had for him. I just pulled it.
Yeah.
And we sat down and we went over it and he was like, oh man, this makes sense. And he had just moved into a new role at his work and he got moved into like a people manager type of thing. And it's a very technical department too. So,
Okay.
and I remember him going through it and he goes, oh yeah, oh gosh, I gotta, and he looked at it and he's like, oh yeah, there's some things in here. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yes.
And it's so true when you can look at it from that perspective of
Mhm.
like, what can I learn from this? Because here's the thing, you don't have to look at them and say, "Oh gosh, this shows me all the bad things that I am." You can
Mhm.
look at it and go, "How can I grow from this?"
Yes, yes, yes. And of the four components of emotional intelligence, self-awareness, like if you're not self-aware, how can you self-regulate, right?
Yes.
And if you're not
Right.
self-aware, it makes it difficult to also really be aware of others.
Yeah.
And so, I love knowing things about myself and I can grow from it. I can learn from it. I can lean into it. If it's a positive, I can
Yes.
figure out ways how to, increase it, change it, fix it, whatever. If it's a weakness, or maybe it's just a weakness of mine and I know I better hire out in that
Yeah.
area. Right. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's okay too. I think there's so much that we can truly learn. And to me, self-awareness is part of self-leadership.
I 100% agree.
Mhm.
I just started writing a series of blogs and this week is the inner work that we have to do on ourselves in order to lead
Yes.
successfully.
Yes. Yes.
And that
And
piece usually gets lost.
yes. And I'll say, what I typically tell people is that emotional intelligence it was kind of like, oh, that's a soft skill. Emotional intelligence is a success skill. It
Yes.
is a success skill. And Amy, I'm going to say something about the breakthrough one more time
Do
because
it.
in the breakthrough, there are five major negative emotions: anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt. And over time, those start like compounding on each other. And typically one of them will just be super high. In women, it is often fear and guilt, right? The mom guilt, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
fear and guilt are usually higher. And it's something that we do in the breakthrough is we go back and we level them, right? We just bring them to like back to a new baseline so that it's not, the reactive. It's just a baseline. And it never means you don't experience those negative emotions
Right.
again, because you're going to, but not at the level it was compounded that is so much higher and kind of like an unwarranted response. Like that response does not have to be that high. Like we
Right.
can bring it down and level it. And so I think that is just another benefit, which then helps with emotional intelligence and
Yeah.
being able to run a business, be with clients, lead a staff, lead employees, whatever that, lead a family, whatever that
Yeah.
looks like. It's kind of all encompassing to me.
It's interesting because I think emotional intelligence was probably the biggest game changer for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had a mentor call me out on some things, and in my self-regulation, also there were certain peoples that just triggered me. I
Yes, yeah.
worked with this gentleman that just had no respect for women, and it was obvious in how he spoke to me and other women. And I would clap back fast. I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
you can get out of my office, and when you decide to speak with me with respect, you can come back. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
that was me not self-regulating because I could have handled it differently. And so she challenged me. I have like three people that I just really,
Mm-hmm.
says, hey, I need some feedback. And she's like, I want you to find two people that you work with that care about you and that can tell you the truth, and you can ask for feedback. And so there was this older gentleman that I worked with that I didn't work with him a lot, but he was very observant because of things I heard him say. He was kind of a peer for me because of how
Okay.
he led his team and how he observed things in our meetings and like our whole department meetings type things. And I started sitting down with him once a week and I said, hey, can you share anything that you saw from me this week? And he did. And it was so incredibly helpful for me. And it was also, it caused me to have a vulnerability that I
Yeah.
needed as a leader.
Mm-hmm. And Amy, I think to your point of that, and I think we both agree on this, is why having a coach, having a mentor, having someone that really can help you see
Yeah,
outside of yourself, because we can't see our blind spots.
that's right.
Right. And when
Yep.
when we have someone that we trust that can help us see our blind spots, work through our blind spots, and God knows I love self-help books, right? I mean, I kind of wrote a self-help book and 25
Yeah.
principles to outsmart burnout and redefine success. And in
Yeah.
my book, it's truly written from a coach's perspective. Like, start with this, right? If you don't have a
Yeah.
coach, if you are not ready to invest in a coach yet, it is an investment. But do this. But typically what happens is people just read it and they never stop and do, right?
Yeah.
And so my point of just your story of having someone help you see your blind spots, we're asking you questions so that you can reflect on yourself, on how you need to grow. I think that is so important.
Yeah.
And if it's a piece that is missing, then it's, the next question is, what do you need to do to be able to make the investment?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's
And
it's that important.
it's too important not to invest in yourself as a
Mhm.
woman that owns her own business or someone that's leading in a
Right,
corporation or a
right.
business that is not the
Mhm,
owner. Like, it's
mhm.
too important for your development, for that. It's really a small investment if you look at the rest of the span of your career.
Yes. If you look at the ROI that a coach can give you,
100%.
I mean, it is, I've gone back and talked to clients that have done a breakthrough with me, and they're like, Kelli, my business has tripled. Kelli, my business is increased. You know what I mean? Like I am now, I've added more employees. I've been able to do this. I've been able to do like all these different things because they invested in themselves, and it
Yeah.
will return. Like you will get a return on it. And that, although, as we talked about in the beginning, do your homework of who your coach is and what their qualifications
Yes.
are. That's it, right? And find someone that truly resonates. I'm not for everybody. And Amy, I'm sure
Right.
you would agree that you're not for
Yeah.
everybody, but We are for some people.
Yeah, 100%. As a matter of fact, I early on in my business, I had a client that was in a state far away from me.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, it was just like nails on a chalkboard. And I
Yeah.
was like, gosh. And it's not that this person was bad or that it just wasn't a good fit. And I just was
Right.
like, hey, listen, I don't really feel like this is working. And
Mhm.
and they were like, yeah, me too. And I said, well, I've got someone that I can recommend for you
Yes.
that I think would,
Yes.
and they started working together, and it was perfect for them.
Hmm.
And I'm not afraid of that. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times people are like, they want it to be like every client that I get is for me. Well, that's not
Hmm.
necessarily true all the
Right.
time.
Right. Yep. Agree. Agree.
Yeah. This is a great conversation, Kelly. I'm not surprised though.
Good thing you have a time limit on your podcast. We could be
I
here for
know.
2 more hours, Amy. I'm sure
Well,
we
I
could find
don't
all
really have
kinds
a
of things
time.
to discuss.
I don't really have a time limit. It's totally up
Okay.
to me, but I do want to value your time. So, kind of in the ending of this podcast, Kelly, tell me one thing that has been a game changer for you in your business. Not about your business, but you personally in your business. Like, what's been a challenge that you've had in your business, and how did you overcome it?
I so the thing that came to me when you said what's made the biggest difference for me in my business, and truly it has been hiring people that I need to hire when I've hired them. That has made
Hmm.
the biggest difference for me. Because if not, I'm trying to do it all myself. I'm trying to do things I'm not good at or things that I don't care about but are important. And so I think that has made the biggest difference for me. The other thing that makes the biggest difference is truly trusting my own intuition,
Yes.
because even when you have coaches, mentors, your loved one brainstorming, telling you what to do, thinking about things, ultimately I have to trust my gut. And there have been times that I haven't, and that
Hmm.
is when things haven't worked for me and I've had to shift and pivot, which is okay. I learned a lesson from that, and I
Yeah.
remember I go back and go, I did not trust my gut. My gut was telling me not to do this, and I did it anyway. And here we are, right? And so it's for me that has been another big key.
Yeah. I love that. One of the other things I'll add to that, not just for you, but I know you are part of this too. We're both a part of a women's networking business
Yes.
development group called Little Black Book Women in Business. And if you're in the St. Louis region area, there's all kinds of opportunities for you to connect with that. And I think that it's really important. Women don't always think this, but it's really important to get in a women supported organization.
Mhm.
um I don't know if you want to speak to that at all, Kelly, but it's been so important for me.
Yes. And I think making sure that the group is supportive as opposed to really competitive,
Yeah.
and knowing that, what something I love about LBB is that in it you can find people that are have been doing business longer, are maybe above you, that you can look
Yeah.
up to, ask questions to, and then also those that you can help and those that are just side by side with you. And I think there's can be so much collaboration and,
Yeah.
and really just the support and accountability. I mean, Amy, you and I are in accountability groups together, and just the importance, especially as business owners who, often work by themselves. Do you have the accountability that you need? And often, LBB provides that. So I think it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. So tell us all the socials, all the things, and how people contact you.
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my primary platform that I'm really on. You'll find I have a newsletter that's on there, be posting some videos on there. I also have a YouTube channel. So I was formerly a podcast host of Winning in Business. I have a ton of great interviews on there. I also have just my work as well on there. So I have a YouTube channel. It's Kelli Risse, Kelly with an I, Risse. I am on Instagram. I am on Facebook. And what am I missing? I'm not on TikTok or Twitter, but I'm on
She
the other
will be
one.
though. TikTok. She's gonna get on TikTok.
Yep.
Maybe.
Uh, Yep. So currently I'm really working on increasing blogs, things like that to just get my content out there because I know that as we read things, just like you said, you have one coming out. When you can read those things and take one nugget and truly apply it, it can
Yeah.
make like we don't need to make big ginormous changes. Usually it is a small, teeny, what's one little
Yeah.
shift that we can make that makes the difference. The difference that makes the difference is usually one small little thing.
One of the statements that I wrote in my blog is small habits
Yes.
breed consistency.
Oh, that's good. So I say my version of that is small hinges swing big doors.
Love
And
it.
so when you think about the habit is the small swinging the
Yeah.
big, small hinges swing big doors. Yeah.
Yeah. Kelli's got all kinds of information for you guys, and I would really highly recommend, even if you could just book a strategy call with her just to see
Oh yeah.
more, learn more about the 1 day intensive. That might be the game changer for you and your business, or even you personally. It doesn't have to be just about your business. Maybe there's something blocking you from being able to scale and go to that next level in your business. And it might not be anything about your business. It might actually be something that's internal and personal for you. You just don't know.
Can I share a story real quick about one of my
I would
clients?
love, I
And
would love it.
she is a business owner and she's in a different state. So she came in. I do the breakthroughs typically in person. And but her, I talked about the negative emotions and she has a child with special needs. And they would go to IEP meetings and her like anger was high for her. And so they would never get through the IEP meeting because her anger would come out. And then all the teachers, everybody around the table would be like, well, let's just pause. Why don't we reconvene in another month or so? And nothing was nothing was
Yeah.
happening. So then her son didn't really have a plan that he needed. We did the breakthrough and she also had she also had a tug of war going on between I want to be the best business owner and I want to be the best mom. And that was pulling her side to side also. And we do what I call like eliminated the tug of war. But between that and between bringing her anger down, she like, I'm not kidding. It was probably 2 weeks after that. She was like, Kelli, we actually got through our first IEP meeting and my son has a plan. I did not get him like my emotions were stable. Like that was life changing, not only for her, but for her son. Like it is.
Yeah.
So when you think about yes, it can help you with your business, go do big things. It can also help in your personal life for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? A lot of coaching,
Hmm.
it
I
actually
know what you're
helps
gonna say.
in your personal and in your work life. I mean,
Yes.
I work primarily like on the leadership side of things. I don't always get into some of the other business side of things, but
Mhm.
what I see is the personal things come up in coaching.
Yeah.
And by the way, just a nugget of information, and Kelli can probably confirm this. Coaching is not someone telling you what to do.
Correct.
Coaching is your coach is asking you series of questions that helps you evoke an awareness in you. And I
Mhm.
think that there's a difference between consulting and coaching.
Mhm.
And sometimes it gets in the industry, it gets kind
Mhm.
of mixed murky. And that coaching is not telling you what to do, because there's actually statistics that say if I tell Kelli what to do, she's 20% likely to actually follow through.
Mhm.
Whereas if I ask her questions and she comes up with this idea on her own, she's 70% more likely to complete it. And so I just wanted to throw that out there because sometimes it gets very confusing in the industry between consulting and
Yes.
coaching.
I think that's great. I love what you said. And, the personal drives the professional. Truly, it
Absolutely.
really does. So in taking care of both. And, Amy, you just hit the nail on the head. Like as a coach, I feel like my job is to ask good questions. And it's the questions that we ask because as humans, when I said that I needed to trust my own intuition, we have
Yeah,
all the answers inside of us. We have all the answers
absolutely.
we need inside of us, right? And sometimes we
Yeah.
just need that help, like getting them out of us, right? And so when you have a good coach that asks the right questions, it makes all the difference in the world.
This is why certifications are so important in your coach. because if
Mhm.
they've been certified, that means that they've learned these, like when I did my coaching certification, I learned different methods of
Yes.
coaching. And
Mhm.
it is actually really important because not everybody can be coached in the same exact way.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, this has been so fun,
Yeah.
Amy.
Well, thank you so much for being on. Again, Kelli Risse, she's amazing. I really highly recommend you buy her book. Where's your book at?
Oh, my book's on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's the easiest place to get it is Amazon.
And
Yep.
I mean, I love the pink. Come on, ladies. I mean, like, look at her hair. She looks so beautiful.
Thank
She's
you.
awesome. We are accountability partners, but she
Yeah.
is awesome. And thank you so much. This was fun, and I really appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thank you.